Chris Gilmore. We are back in the studio, episode 2 of Going Against the Grain, and thank you for all the comments on the last one about parenting. I told my wife she thought I had no idea about parenting, but it actually turned out pretty well, that last podcast where we had a special guest, Josh Smith, talking about mentoring kids and parenting. And today's podcast, I have brought in another special guest with us into the studio today to talk to us just generally about life, because in our job, or, you know, I get to meet a lot of interesting people, and I reckon this guy's story is going to just blow a lot of people away. So let's give you the backstory, where he was a Marine, a cab driver, a stripper, and a real estate agent. Now, if that has not got your attention, I don't know what is going to get your attention, but I'm like, you know what? I have to talk to this guy and just dive in deep and just find out. I'm really interested more around in the Marine, you know, to get to that sort of a level. But I think a lot of the blokes listening to this would be more interested around the stripping occupation. But we will dive in deep. Welcome to the studio. We have Caesar. How are we, Caesar?
I am well, Chris. Thank you so much for having us, man. I'm pumped. Thank you.
It's if you haven't already picked up, there is a bit of an accent. So, Caesar, let's talk about your backstory. Where you're from, Baltimore.
Yes, so I'm from Baltimore, which is 30 minutes northeast of Washington, D.C. I was born and bred there. Yeah.
And so, when did you come to Australia?
I came to Australia initially at the end of 1997, early 1998.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So now, for me, I've probably had a very boring life compared to, you know, what we just went through with you. But mate, let's talk about, like, you grew up in Baltimore.
Yes.
You've still got family over there now?
Yeah. Brothers, mom, cousins, family, everybody's over there. We are from Baltimore, but my family immigrated to America in 1971 from the lovely Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's where you get your tan skin from, is it?
Tan skin and a little bit of a dialect boy, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
a little Caribbean touch.
Yeah, well, man, we should have some reggae music or something playing. Yeah, definitely. That's kind of cool. That is cool. So, So as a kid, mate, what did you do growing up as a kid in Baltimore? What was life like in Baltimore growing up?
Yeah, well, look, life in Baltimore was a little bit different because it was just after the 60s, 70s civil rights stuff, where they had changed the laws in terms of prejudice, but people still had their sort of slant on things. But we absolutely had a blast. I played basketball and football and that sort of thing, and it was good. So I'm from the inner city, man. Yeah.
Okay. So
the hood,
Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
That was a classic movie. That was. So, but like, let's fast forward, man. So, what was your first job?
My actual first job when I was just 15. I worked for a department store called Epstein's, and I cut carpet there whilst I was in the 10th grade of high school.
Epstein's. It's very similar to
Epstein's.
You know, what was old mate's name? Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
Very similar, man.
Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah. Well, ironically, it was family. So yeah.
Really?
Yes.
So we've opened a can of worms right there, haven't we? Well, we'll stay clear of that one.
Yeah. So I got there, and that sort of taught me the beginning of punctuality and discipline and hard work and that sort of thing. You know?
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, like, what intrigues me about you, Caesar, is like you're quite a colourful character.
Yes.
To have around. Like, you're the life of the party. You're very loud. I think you're a very humble sort of a person as well too, and you work bloody hard. But you know, because you were a Marine.
Yes.
You were a Marine, and like, you know, for a lot of people to get into Marines and stuff like that, like it's a complete different level.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, like, are you okay to talk about
Absolutely.
Because I've got no doubt you've fought overseas and stuff like
Yes,
that. Like you
yeah.
probably would have seen some stuff that a lot of our listeners we couldn't even fathom of what you've probably experienced and seen. So like, let's talk to the listeners about like what was it like? What's the training like? You know, the discipline, and what did you really take away from becoming, you know, a Marine?
Yeah, well, look, the first thing that I think people need to comprehend is that I'm one of those people where if people say that I can't do something or it's too hard, I obsess about it. So
You want to prove the haters wrong.
yeah,
The naysayers.
yeah.
That's probably why we get along.
Yeah. That's it, man. So like, at the end of high school, I sort of considered the Army, Air Force, Navy, and everybody said, you'll never get into the Marine Corps because it's too hard. They're crazy, and you'll never, and that just made me obsess about it. So I started to train and exercise, but I had no idea what I was getting into. When I got into it, I just barely scraped in, but I wasn't prepared for what I was about to embark upon. I would say that the first 10 weeks or 12 weeks was perhaps the worst and most horrible time of my entire life. All we did was train. We had something like 16-hour days, and they strip you of everything, of your clothes, your name, and they break you down.
They try to break you.
They try to break
Because
you.
to be a Marine, they want the strongest, they want the fittest, they want the most mentally capable because you're going to go into situations that are probably a normal person probably couldn't handle. Is that right?
Yes, and that's the primary focus, because although we're doing exercises, it's more mental. So it's sort of building up your mental reserves and force of willpower. Yeah. So they broke us down when
Was there a time when you were in that training where you wanted to give up?
Yes. There was a time there, probably in the third week or so, where we had 3 or 4 days with maybe 5 hours of sleep. And when you're deprived of sleep and food and you over exercise, it really has an impact on your mental,
Your mental health, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I got to that point where I actually considered giving up. I considered suicide for just that half a tenth of a second, and then it was like, fuck that, I'm not gonna give up.
You're not gonna give up.
Yeah, and you know, as an athlete, you know how that feels, where your muscles are giving up and it's spasming, and it's that mental strength to push past your physical barrier.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Marine Corps conditions you to push yourself beyond your normal,
your threshold that you have. Like it's, I sort of understand that a little bit, because like, you know, when I compete in an Ironman, like people go like, I couldn't imagine doing that for 12 hours, and I'm like, it's actually amazing what your body can actually handle.
Yes.
You know, if you just do a little bit of training and eat right, and you know, but and that's why I do Ironman. It's not to compete or anything. It's the mental side of things, because I know a lot of people go, well, screw that, I couldn't do that. And I'm like, well, hang on, well, I just did it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Anyone can do it. But I think being a Marine is not going to be, you know, like, there's going to be that 0.001% of people that would actually enjoy it and actually make it.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll be completely honest. I didn't enjoy it until I got it. And it wasn't until I understood that our potential lies on the outside of our comfort zone. And so many people want to achieve things, but they don't want to sacrifice, and they don't want to push themselves past that point.
They want to go down the easy road.
That's it, yeah. And it isn't until you've gotten to that other side that you realize, oh my God, I never thought that I could do that. I never thought that I could go 2 or 3 days without sleep. And I never knew that I could, run 20 Ks or 30 Ks, but it's that mental push which you can identify with as an Ironman, which is another category again. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I think it's easy, but other people just go, like, nah, screw that. So, all right. So you become a Marine.
Yes.
And then what? You get deployed. That was it. Like you. Because where did you train for that? Where was that? Was that in Baltimore or?
No. So we actually went to a place called Paris Island, which is in South Carolina, and you have the original boot camp, which goes for 3 months.
Yep.
Where they break you down and they build you up, because you have to be able to understand how to endure and how to push yourself past normal physical limits. After that, we then go to what they call combat training, which is approximately 5 weeks or so, where then we then are sort of taught how to survive in different environments, tropical, cold, desert.
Yep.
So we are cross-trained, and we are specifically trained to thrive in adverse environments, but we're taught most of all that when there is absolute chaos, to be calm, and they teach us how to prioritize what's important and what's not. So for example, if we are in a team of 3 to 5, and if your team dies or 2 or 3, we are taught not to tap into the normal emotions that most people would, because in our job, that becomes a liability. For us, cold, strategic logic and instinct is our assets.
Wow. Okay. So what did it feel like when you, because people would have failed, I'm guessing.
Yes.
So not everyone becomes a Marine Corps.
Yes.
So, so obviously you got through the training and you were successful. When you get deployed for that first time, where did we go? Where was the first time that you were deployed? How old were you?
So the actual first place that I went was Iraq.
Yep.
And to actually go, it was sort of like you've trained and now it's game on.
Yeah.
Shit's
about those bullets coming back at you.
Yeah.
They're real.
Yeah, they're like real.
It's not like a PlayStation game and you get respawned, mate. Like it's like they're shooting back at you.
They're shooting back at you. And look, I will sort of tactfully block out certain details here, but what I will say is this. When people see the movies of boot camps and drill instructors screaming at you and the heart, that is all specifically designed so that you can deal with the rigors of combat, where combat is insane. There's bombs going off, there's people dying, and you need to be able to remain calm and focused on what is important. Yeah.
Because you've got a job to do.
You got a job to do. Yeah, but for that first time,
Were you like shitting yourself?
Yeah, I was actually shitting myself on the actual plane before I jumped out, because I'm a parachutist also. But once I jumped, then you go into
something switches on.
Game time.
I exactly know what you mean there. Like
Iron Man do it. Yeah.
No motor racing.
Oh, okay,
you're in the pits and you're cruising around, and when that helmet goes on, it's just like you blink once and it's like bang. You're like you switched on. So I understand what you're saying there. Like you're probably absolutely shitting yourself, in the helicopter or the plane, then you jump out and you're like, yeah, shit, like this is what I trained for, and you're into it.
Yeah. Because what sort of happens there is you train so much, which you can identify with, where it becomes muscle memory, where you don't have to think about anything.
Yeah, it just happens.
It just happens. You've done it 1,000 times, and you're just in that gear. You're in that gear. So once you're in that gear, there's sort of like, it's sort of a blank between when you started and when you end.
Yep.
Because in the middle, you're in that gear that you've been training for.
Yep.
Yeah, where...
but it's also survival mode. Like you want to live. You want to come back and see your family and live life. And like it's game on.
It's game on. But the difference is that for us, when we're in that gear, we're not thinking about our family. Because once we tap into that emotional point, the fear starts to kick in.
Yep.
Yeah. So
you try and just mentally blank it out and just
go for it.
Just
A,
go
B,
for
C,
the
D.
target.
Yeah, just go for the targets. Yeah. So look, I've been deployed to multiple.
So where have you been? Iraq, Afghanistan,
Croatia, a place called Rwanda.
Yeah, so African.
Yep, African.
That probably would have been an eye opener. Rwanda.
That was the worst.
Oh, I've got no doubt. It would be like the most vicious.
And then after that, we had Panama.
Oh, Panama. Yeah.
Panama.
Yeah, that would have been pretty crazy too.
That was also crazy.
Yeah.
So,
mate, we could talk about hours like this, but so how long were you in it for?
12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
Holy shit! How old are you now?
I am now 48. I'll be 49 the 24th of January.
All right, for the listeners, all right, you can't see us in the studio. This guy looks 30, so
heaps of carrot juice.
Yeah, heaps of carrot juice.
No alcohol.
Yeah, right here.
No smoking.
All right. So,
Yeah.
So, what made you stop? 12 years in it. What made you stop?
Just the end of the actual contract.
Yep. Was the war coming to an end at that sort of stage as well too?
Yeah, it came to an and then.
Were you relieved?
Sorry.
Were you relieved? Like, do you miss it? Do you like?
Yeah. Well, look, it's sort of funny because, at the end of it, I was kind of like, yes, finally, I'm going to have, the time to actually take control of my own life again.
Yeah.
And this sort of takes me into something else. Like, at first I was like, yeah, I'm getting out. I'm going to be able to do things and have my own life again. But then once I got out, because I had done that for so long, and whilst I was in there, I did things that I did not process.
Yep. So
when I got out, I began to miss it like crazy because I didn't have to plan because everything was planned for me.
Yep.
I was actually told what I had to do.
Yep. Where to
be here.
what to do.
Yeah, right. And then the sort of background of what I did whilst in there started to impact me. So I actually had probably 2 to 3 years where I had extreme PTSD,
yep.
where I was just angry and aggressive all the time. I just wanted to fuck people up all the time. And I just had a very short
temper,
a very, very short temper, which I actually still
Well, I've never seen it.
Yeah. Well,
I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
I'd love to see you crack it.
Yeah. No,
like,
but
where'd this come from?
Yeah. Well, after long hours and weeks on the actual couch, I've learned the strategy of redirecting that temper into insanity, just being funny.
Yep.
You know, we make it so that's
Enjoy
what-
life,
yeah.
have some fun. Don't take it too serious.
Yeah.
Because that's how I know you.
Yes. Yeah, so like, once I got out, I was just angry, upset, PTSD. I ended up, homeless and unemployable.
So you were homeless as well.
Yes.
How long were
So
you homeless for?
I was homeless for 7 months.
What was that like?
It was horrible because the more that I tried to obtain employment, the more I failed, and I actually kept and still have 73 rejections from places like Swizzlers and that. And what got me was, hey, I've done all this in my life. Why won't Swizzlers take me? Yeah, but it was the worst experience in my life because I
old were
learned
you?
who I am. Sorry?
How old were you?
This is going back to, I was 33, 32.
So at 33, you were homeless.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Good enough, yeah. And
Here in Brisbane, good enough.
yeah, good enough. And
Where were you sleeping?
in and out of a caravan park that's just off the Ipswich waterway there that actually washed away in the 2011 floods.
Yep.
Yes. So
Yeah,
just
I
like-
remember what it was.
Yeah. So there.
Did you have a family?
Sorry.
Family? Kids?
At that time, no. I did have my partner, wife at that time, and look, he was actually instrumental in helping me find myself again. What sort of happened here is I did things that were unspeakable that I had to do, but I never emotionally dealt with it.
Yep.
And I had flashbacks and nightmares and all that sort of stuff, but I tried to run from it, and it
And
wasn't
not face it.
and face it. It wasn't until I faced it, screamed and cried and dealt with it, that then I was able to forgive myself, and that helped me to love myself. And once I did that, then because I loved myself, I was then able to connect to people and get back on the bandwagon, which then led to me driving cabs and intermittently
All right, so we. All right.
dot.
Drum roll.
Yeah.
Drum roll. This is what the fellas have been waiting for.
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Strawberries
yeah.
and cream. Anyway, so we go from Marine Corps to homeless,
Yep.
to homeless to cab driver.
Yep.
Okay.
Black and white
We
cabs.
don't really need to talk about the cab driving. Like, that would have been interesting. Like, picking up people, you would have seen and heard of a lot of stories. From the back seat. I've got no doubt with
Yeah.
people that you're picking up.
Yep.
And then from that, like, how then you become a stripper?
Yes.
How do you become a stripper? For those listening, how do you become a stripper?
How do you become a stripper?
Like, what qualities? And
What qualities?
What requirements do you need to have to
Well,
become a stripper?
Okay. Well, look. Firstly, I'll say this just quickly here. In the actual cabs was where I discovered that I was a people person because of the spectrum of personalities and people that I had to deal with.
Yeah.
So
but
I would
you could connect with them.
connect with them, from
Yep.
poor to architecture to
Sure.
whoever. Now, in terms of how I became a stripper, it was completely unforeseen. So, I was actually trying to find a casual job
Yep.
back in the day. So I saw an advertisement for a waiter that was at the corner of Elizabeth Street and Albert Street, which was like diagonally across from the McDonald's that's at the bottom of the Queen Street Mall.
Sure.
So diagonally, yeah.
Yep.
So
Down to where City Rowers used to be.
yeah. In that area.
Down the back there.
Down the back there. Yeah. So I got this thing and I called them, and the name of the place was the Stuffed Duck, right? Restaurant. So the guy hired me, and I used to work there on a Friday and Saturday night. Upstairs, it was sort of a French restaurant, and I was just your normal sort of waiter. So casually, I worked there 4 hours on a Friday night and 4 hours on a Saturday night. So the venue was upstairs, but the owner also owned downstairs. And I used to see like girls queued up around the corner around 5, 6 o'clock, dolled up and stuff, but I had no idea what was going on, you know? And look, you know, I've never been in the performing, entertaining industry, didn't have a clue. Anyway, one evening, the actual boss came and said, hey, look, we are sort of short staff downstairs. Can you help out? So, yeah, sure. But he said, look, there's one thing. There's one thing.
Yeah, I know what that is.
He said, look, it's actually, you're going to have to do it topless and in a G-string. I said, look, no thanks, I'm not interested. So he said, look, I'll pay you $80 an hour. Okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
Everyone's got a dollar amount, man.
Yeah.
$20 is $20. But obviously, we've just found Caesar's limit. It's 80.
$80 an hour.
Mate, he'll do whatever you want for $80 an hour. You know, tops off, G-strings on.
Yeah. $80 an hour.
But back then, like, how old were we?
God.
Mid-30s?
Yeah, maybe 35, 36.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So even back then, like 13, 14 years old ago, you know, $80 an hour, that's good money.
Good money, right? So, yes, like he said, look, it's only a 2-hour gig, 2.5 hour gig. You're just going to be taking drinks and cocktails to our quote-unquote valued customers.
Yep.
So I went down there, and I was nervous as hell because I've never had a G-string
Never worn a G-string before?
Never wore a G-string, never been topless, and it was packed out like 250 women. They're screaming, they're grabbing you, they're asking for bourbons or cocktails, this, that. So I was completely overwhelmed.
You're like, oh man, where's this been my whole life? Like,
yeah. So like, I was a nervous wreck, but after 2-3 weeks, you know, I started to get in my groove, you know, like repetition makes everything easier in life, Chris. Yeah. So
best podcast ever.
Yeah. So I'm sort of doing it 2-3, and then one night I would have been maybe 4 to 5 weeks in, and the actual he goes, hey, ladies, who wants to see Caesar on stage? And the spotlight shined on me, and I'm like, no, I'm good, man. Like, I'm not a dancer or anything. I'm like, and he's like, no, who wants to see Caesar on stage? And the girls started banging their forks and the knives on the table.
They're going wild for Caesar.
What are they going? Caesar. And I'm a nervous wreck, man. I'm shaking, and I got up on stage. And he just said, hey, can you just say hi? I said, you know, hi, ladies. And crazy. So anyway, long story short, he did that to me for about 3 to 4 weeks, right? And then slowly but surely, I started getting more confident up there.
Yep.
And then maybe there was a time there, maybe 8 weeks into it, he said, hey, who wants Caesar to do the lap dance? Because they all had, at the end of it, you know, for the birthday girl, or like the hen, they would do a special lap dance. Yeah. And like, so I was like, who wants to see Caesar do the lap dance? And he got me up, and I couldn't move or anything. I was nervous and sweating, and the smoke is going, the music's going, the spotlight, sweating. And then that sort of went on for 3-4 weeks, and then I got very confident, and
that's it.
that's it, man. Then I started.
So were you doing them private shows, or was it always just in this one place that you? And when we say strip, like we're talking completely stripped.
Well, see, at that time when I was doing it, I did public shows where we would only go to
G-string. Yep.
Right. But then once I got more experience, we did have private shows for at the right price. We would show you a little bit more. Yeah.
There's not much left to show, man. If you've got only a G-string on.
Yeah. But it's just a quick flash, and it's just the tease and excitement. So look, man. There's a guy here actually that comes in time to time that taught me everything. His name is Ronnie Thunder, and he taught me how to dance. He taught me how to do acro, splits, backflips, all this sort of thing. And before you know it, I was doing 7 to 8 gigs on a Saturday night, 3 on a Friday, and toured all over Australia. And they sort of...
Good money?
Sorry?
Like good money?
Look, at that time, you could make anywhere, say, between 200 a night up to maybe $1,000.
Yep.
Yeah. But then it sort of died off after a while. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did that, man, for years, like 8, 9 years or so, and it was a blast. And I used to drive my actual taxi and keep my.
So you're still driving a cab,
yeah,
during the day,
Yep.
and then
Stripping
at night,
yeah,
to get by.
yeah. So I did that. So yeah, it was an awesome experience.
Oh, yeah, mate, it's definitely colourful.
Yeah.
It's not a lot of people could say that they were,
Yeah.
in the Marines and then homeless and then become a stripper.
Yeah. Yes.
And then so we've really fast forwarded all through, quite quickly in your
Yeah.
life. We now look at you now today,
Yes.
a very successful real estate agent. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, to think, where you were born, your upbringing, then what you got into, and then what you've seen and experienced.
Yeah.
You've seen the highs, and man, you've been at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like you've hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
Don't get much worse than being homeless.
Yeah. Well, look, Chris, at that time, what sort of happened here is I actually had 3 or 4 jobs going at one time. So I started in the actual cabs, then I started dancing, then I started buying cars and selling them.
Yep.
Then I got into property.
But no, you're at the movies, weren't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Let's talk about
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
because that's I think where we met.
Yes.
Right? Like it was, we were putting on movie nights for all of our clients.
Yep.
At the local cinema, and here's this big ass dude, like wearing the white with the red pinstripe, lollipop bloody outfit that you've got to wear with that stupid shitty hat, serving popcorn
Yes.
at the cinema, and
Yep.
your charisma and just your personality. I'm like, dude, you're in the wrong job. You should be in real estate.
Yes, you did.
Fast
man.
forward, here we are.
Yep.
Where is he? And guess where he's working?
All properties.
He's working with us. Like that's so it's just amazing where life can take you. It can pull you in all different directions. You can see the highs, you can see the lows. You've seen some shit that I would never even want to imagine. You know what I mean? And then you've done some crazy stuff like cab driving and stripping, and then you're at the movies and here we are here today. Like it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. But
do you not look back at that and just go, "Phew, what a whirlwind"? Like, because that's definitely against the grain, man.
Yes, it's definitely against the actual grain because, to be honest, I've never had any ambitions or dreams of being in property or real estate agent. But
what drives you, Caesar?
Sorry?
If you got to give me one thing, what drives you?
What drives me is the want to realize my innate potential.
You just want to release that potential and see how far you can actually really take it.
Yeah. Just because I've had some serious rock bottoms where I even had a time where I had to teach myself how to speak again and how to talk again. So now I see this as a bonus time where I live my life in an atmosphere of no fear, because now is the time to whatever is inside me, I want to realize that potential unabashed.
Yeah, well. There you go. That's that is the short story. I don't even know how long. It's almost 40 minutes, man. So we could talk for probably 4 hours and really dive in quite deep on some of that. But we will close it off there, man. I've just learnt so much about you just in that time right then. I knew the overall story of Caesar, but I didn't really know, the ins and outs. Especially, I didn't know you were homeless, man. I've slept on the streets once.
I saw that.
Once.
Yeah.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
I think I got a couple hours sleep. It was on a concrete slab, and I think we got a piece of cardboard, and we did it for charity.
Yeah.
The CEO sleep out.
Yeah.
And but to endure months and weeks and days of that, I don't know how people do it. So, mate, 100%. You're an inspiration. You're a success story. You really are. You're quite a colourful character.
We always have fun, Chris.
We certainly always have fun. But that's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is not just about real estate. The last episode was around mentoring kids and stuff, and I wanted today just to be completely I think your story is completely going against the grain. You
Absolutely.
have not just gone, hey, finish high school, go to uni, get a degree, got a job, got a family, got a house. Mate, you've gone left, right, up, down.
Yeah, but what I'd like to just share here is that my actual spectrum of experiences has taught me to be grateful for what most people take for granted.
Yep.
Or it showed me not to have an entitlement mentality, but have the guts and the courage to go out there and work for what you want.
Yeah, go and get what you want. I think we leave them at that.
Woo!
Boom. So, anyway, listeners, if you got any comments or if you got any questions, especially the blokes, if you want to know how to get into stripping or how to do some dance moves, Caesar is definitely the man for that. Or if you want to become a Marine Corps or get in the Army. But look, leave us some feedback, make a comment below wherever you're listening to this on Spotify or iTunes or Google Play, wherever it might be, SoundCloud. Post a comment. We will always get back to you, Caesar, man. Absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, brother. Thanks for coming in.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Going Against the Grain.